One of the more interesting games of the weekend will take place in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., where the Redskins will host the Baltimore Ravens. Washington is currently installed as a 1-point favorite on BETDAQ in this game, 47.5 the total. The Redskins, of course, are on a roll. Just 3 games ago, they were 3-6. Their own coach, Mike Shanahan, stood up at his post-game press conference and basically declared the season over. He cited statistics, how tough it was for an NFL team to make the playoffs from 3-6. He said the rest of this season will be used to evaluate young players. Well, since then, Redskins have won 3 straight games. They now sit at 6-6, just a game out of first in the NFC East after beating the New York Giants on Monday night. And the Giants have not been playing very well recently. They play the New Orleans Saints this week, so you never know. If the Redskins are able to pick up a home win on Sunday, they could be tied for the lead in the NFC East on Sunday night. Now, will they be able to get that win? That's a different story. The Baltimore Ravens come into town. Baltimore is 9-3 on the season. They did just suffer a bad loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, that was a bad loss because it was in Baltimore and because the Steelers were playing Charlie Batch at quarterback. They had just lost to the Cleveland Browns with Batch at quarterback. Baltimore was near a double-digit favorite in that game, so it was a surprise they lost, no doubt about it. Their offense struggled again. This offense, the Baltimore offense, after starting off the season really hot, they look like an elite offense through 3 or 4 weeks. They have not been that way recently. They've scored 25 points or less in 5 out of the last 6 games, and they've scored below 17 points in 4 out of the last 8 games. So, you know, in the NFL, if you're held to below 17 points, that really means you're shut down. That means in the Baltimore Ravens' last 8 games, they've been shut down in half of those games. Now, lucky for them, the Washington Redskins don't have the type of defense that shuts anybody down. 29th in the NFL in total defense. They're especially bad in the secondary. Only one team is worse at defending the pass than the Washington Redskins, so expect Joe Flacco to go downfield early and often in this game. Now, you know, full disclosure, and you might know it if you've heard me here throughout the year on BETDAQ NFL, I've not been a big Redskins believer. I felt like the Redskins were overhyped really ever since their Week 1 win in New Orleans, so I've actually bet against the Redskins a lot this year, and it hasn't worked out very well for me. 1-3 in my 4 games betting against the Washington Redskins. But I lean towards them in this game. You know, I look at this, and Washington has a lot of momentum. Baltimore suffered another key loss on defense last week. Terrell Suggs, who had missed the first part of the season with an Achilles injury, went down with torn biceps. He tore his right biceps in the game last week. They're saying he's still questionable for this week. Suggs, he's going to try to tough it out and not go on IR for the season. But, you know, we know that torn biceps usually takes people out for weeks, and will Suggs be able to tackle effectively if he's not able to use his right arm? Now, Baltimore is already without some defensive stalwarts, Ray Lewis and Ladarius Webb. Lewis, of course, their longtime captain, the middle linebacker. Ladarius Webb, their best cornerback. Those guys have been out for several weeks, and they'll both miss the remainder of the season. The Baltimore defense has been uncharacteristically bad this year, 23rd in the NFL against both the pass and the run. We talked about this Washington offense a little bit. I mean, Robert Griffin III, what can you say about this guy that hasn't been said already? He's leading this offense. It is top 10 in the league in yards per game, first in the NFL in rushing yards per game. Now, that has a lot to do with Mike Shanahan's scheme, has a lot to do with rookie running back Alfred Morris, but it also has a lot to do with Robert Griffin III. This guy can run like the wind, and they call several designed quarterback runs for him throughout the game. Now, as I said, I do lean towards Washington in this game, but I'm very careful here because I don't want to underestimate the Baltimore Ravens. I want to take you back to mid-October, their game against the Dallas Cowboys, when Ray Lewis and Ladarius Webb were both lost for the season. At that point, Terrell Suggs had not come back yet. At that point, I said, and I think many other people said, all was basically lost for the Baltimore Ravens. I expected the Ravens to take a quick nosedive, and the very next game, they were blown out by the Houston Texans. So everybody who had said the Ravens were getting ready for a fall, they looked really right. And I was one of those people again. And I thought after they were blown out by the Texans, I didn't think much of Baltimore's chances the rest of this season. But they turned around and won their next 4 games. Now, they did lose to Pittsburgh last week, but Baltimore showed that despite some losses on defense, this is still a tough team, a team not to be overlooked. So I'm a little hesitant in recommending a Washington bet here in this situation. Washington with their rookie quarterback, even though he's been a great rookie. Robert Griffin III, he's been a great rookie. Still a rookie going up against this experienced Ravens defense. And even though the Ravens have allowed a lot of yardage this year, they're still top 10 in the NFL in points allowed. So I don't know. This one has sort of a toss-up feel to me. But if you put my feet to the fire, I would back the Washington Redskins here -1. And by the way, if you like Washington, BETDAQ is an excellent place to bet this game because in Vegas, this line opened at pick and has now moved to Washington -2.5 all over Vegas. So Washington -1 is a good opportunity if you lean towards Washington here. And BETDAQ, again, if you're going to be a Washington bettor this week, then BETDAQ will be the right place to get your bet down.